Hello students, in the last session we discussed about constructors and method overloading and constructor overloading with their examples we discussed, right? So in this session we discussed about nesting of methods. Okay, so nesting of methods, the name will tells that nesting of methods means that is method within a method. Okay, so here we know the classes, and inside a class we having both instance variables and the member methods, right? So both instance variables and member methods can be accessed through objects and dot operator. You all know that the concept how to access the class instance variables and member methods means we want object name and dot operator, right? So that is a method of a class can be called only by an object of that class. So ಆ ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿರೋ ಆಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮುಖಾಂತರನೇ ಅಲ್ಲಿರೋ ಅಂಥ ಮೆಥಡ್ಸ್ನ ಕಾಲ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಆರ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ in the case of static methods. Next you will study about static methods and static members. So in that how static methods are accessible, we see that using class name. So here here we know the concept that is through objects we can access the class member methods. Okay, so a method of a class can be called only by the objects and using a dot operator. You all know that. So here a method can be called by using only its name by another method of the same class. This is known as nesting of methods. What it means, the method can be called by using only its name without using a object name and dot operator. It is called only using its name by the another method of the same class. So adu ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಲ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಬರೀ ಅದ್ರ ನೇಮಿಂದ. ಈಗ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವಿಂಗ್ ಎ ಸಮ್ ಮೆಥಡ್. ಸೊ ಸಮ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ inside another member method of the same class. So in the example we having a sum method which is called by its name itself without using object name and dot operator inside a display method. So display and sum both are the member methods of the same class. So sum is the method which is called inside a display method without using a object name and dot operator. So illenu ಒಂದು ಮೆಥಡ್ನ ಅದೇ ನೇಮ್ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಆಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ನೇಮ್ ಡಾಟ್ ಆಪರೇಟರ್ ಇಲ್ದಲೆ ಆ ಮೆಥಡ್ನ ಕಾಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ ಯೂಸಿಂಗ್ ದಟ್ ಸೇಮ್ ನೇಮ್ ಇನ್ಸೈಡ್ ದಿ ಅನದರ್ ಮೆಥಡ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಸೇಮ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್. ಆ ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿರೋ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಮೆಥಡ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಕಾಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ವಿತೌಟ್ ಯೂಸಿಂಗ್ ಎ ಆಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ನೇಮ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಡಾಟ್ ಆಪರೇಟರ್. ದಟ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಎ ನೆಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ ಮೆಥಡ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ನೆಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ ಮೆಥಡ್ಸ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ವಾಟ್? A method can be called by using only its name without using object name and dot operator by another method of the same class. So it is called in the another method of the same class. ಅದೇ ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿರೋ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಮೆಥಡ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಅದು ಕಾಲ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ನೋನ್ ಆಸ್ ನೆಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ ಮೆಥಡ್ಸ್. ಓಕೆ, this is important. And using nesting of methods we can find biggest of two numbers. That example is I shown here. Here class nesting. Inside class nesting we having a instance variable m and n, and we having a constructor nesting which will initialize the instance variable m and n when the object is created. So here m and n values are stored through nesting constructor, so which having a two arguments x and y. X and y values are initialized to m and n. Okay, so next we having a largest function which will find the biggest of two numbers. So m is greater than n means it will return m, or it is equal to n also it will return m, otherwise it will return n. Okay, so we having another function display which will call the largest function inside a display function. So largest and display both are the members of the nesting class, right? So one member method can be called inside another member method in the same class is called nesting. We that the definition tells that the method which is called inside another method using the same name without using object name and dot operator is called as a nesting of methods, right? So in this largest function is called within the display. So without using object name and dot operator. So this is nesting. So in display function we are calling largest function. So it will return some value. That returned value is copied to L, that is displayed through system.out.println, right? So here display function will calls the largest function and the largest value will be printed. Okay, so this class should be executed, means we want to create object for that class. Then you create an object for nesting class inside a void main. That void main should also be should be in the class itself. So we are writing another class called nesting test. Inside that public static void main, in this void main we are writing a nesting we are creating a object n, which is a object for nesting class. So nesting n equals new nesting. So when you are creating a object, then that constructor is invoked or called. So when you are creating a object or instantiating an object, the constructor is invoked, and the values, that is 40 and 50, is assigned for a instance variable m and n. So object n create ಆಗ್ತಿದ್ದಂಗೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿರೋ ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಟರ್ ಕಾಲ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆ ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಟರ್ ಮುಖಾಂತರ m and n ಗೆ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಸ್ 40 and 50 ಅಸೈನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಕಾಲಿಂಗ್ ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಯೂಸಿಂಗ್ object name n. So in the display function, so it calls largest function, which is the member method of the ಸೇಮ್ ನೆಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್. ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇ ಯಾವ ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆನೋ ಲಾರ್ಜೆಸ್ಟು ಅದೇ ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಸೊ ಒಂದು ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಒಳಗೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ನ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿ ಕಾಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು ವಿತೌಟ್ ಯೂಸಿಂಗ್ ಆಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ನೇಮ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಡಾಟ್ ಆಪರೇಟರ್. ಸೊ largest function is called, and it will calculate the largest of two numbers, that is 40 and 50. 40 greater than or equal to 50 false, it returns n value. Else part alliro n return ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. n is 50 is returned to L, then largest value equals 50 is displayed. So here nesting class defines a constructor called nesting, which having two arguments. So that two arguments are assigned for a instance variables, and then next we having two methods. One is largest and another is display. So method display calls the method largest to determine the largest of two numbers and then display the result, that is largest value equals 50. Okay, this is one simple example on nesting of methods. So next, another example we can write using nesting of methods. This example will, it can be called it can be asked in the exam. So better you learn this program, that is biggest of three numbers, or they can ask biggest of two numbers, or explain nesting of member methods they will ask. So write the concept of nesting of member methods with one example. Okay, any example you can give, but they ask particular program, means that program should be written. Okay, here class nesting. In this class we having a three variables, instance variables, because we are finding the biggest of three numbers, so we should declare three variables, that is PQR, which are instance variables of nesting class. Then for these three variables we are initializing the value through constructor nesting. So x, y, z values are through arguments they will come, that is x, y, z values are the argument values, which is copied to, which is initialize the PQR. Okay, so x value is initialized to P, and y is initialized to Q, and z is initialized to R. Okay, next largest function. In this we should calculate the biggest. So here for biggest we can use nesting of if statement. Also we can use if else ladder, or we can use ternary operator. Okay, any concept you can implement. So here I used if else ladder concept. So first if statement will check P is greater than Q and P is greater than R, it will check. So in the both the condition is true, means it will return p value, because p is greater than q as well as greater than r means it will return p. Otherwise it will, any one condition is fails means it will move to else part. So in that else part we check another condition, q is greater than r. Whether it is true means it returns q, otherwise it moves to else part and returns r. Okay, so next we having a display function. In display we are calling largest. So here nesting of method concept arise. Here largest function will return some value, that is calculated value, biggest ಯಾವುದು ಅದು ಕಳಿಸುತ್ತೆ. That value is copied to L. Then system.out.println will display the L value. Okay, so we want object for this to find biggest of 3. So we should create object inside a void main. So void main, inside the void main we are creating object for nesting class. When you are instantiating the object, the constructor is invoked. This constructor having 3 arguments. So one value 40 and another is 50 and another is 60 values are copied to xyz, which is initialized to pqr in the nesting constructor. Then next, that is n having a pqr variables, instance variables, that values are for pqr the values are initiated through this constructor. Okay, so constructor will initialize the objects. Okay, then next, after initializing the object or after completing the constructor calling, next it will calls the display function. In display function it will calls the largest function. In largest it will find the biggest of 3 and it will return back to display and display the largest value. So here in this example we have the largest value is 60, that is r is the biggest. Okay, so this is about nesting of methods. So next we study about super and this keywords. So in Java we having a 2 important keywords. One is super and this. So here Java is a case sensitive language. So case sensitive means we should use whenever we want uppercase, then you should use uppercase, otherwise you should use in a smaller case only. But keywords means they are reserved words, they are always be in a smaller case, they should not be in a uppercase. Here super and this keywords, they are keywords means they should be in a lower case only. Okay, they are case sensitive, so they should be in a lower case. So first one is super keyword. What this super keyword does? So super keyword in Java, it provides 2 important keywords, that is Java provides 2 important keywords. One is super and this, right? So here super keywords first we study. So Java provides the super keyword that enables a subclass to refer to its superclass. So subclass and superclass are studied detail in inheritance, that is next concept we study about inheritance. Before that I will tell about super keyword. So here super keywords mainly it is used in inheritance concept, so that enables the subclass to refer to its superclass. ಸೊ ಸಬ್ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುವಂಥ ವೇರಿಯಬಲ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತು ಮೆಥಡ್ಸ್ ಮತ್ತು ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಲ್ಲ, ಸೊ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಸೂಪರ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿರುವಂಥ ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ನ ಥ್ರೂ ಸಬ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ನಾವು ಕಾಲ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಅಂಥ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಸೂಪರ್ ಕೀವರ್ಡ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ವಿ ಶುಡ್ ಕಾಲ್ ಸಮ್ superclass constructors inside a subclass, or we should call some superclass methods inside a subclass, or we should access some superclass variables inside a subclass, means then we should use super keyword. Okay, so super keyword will enables a subclass to refer to its superclass. The super keyword is used to access into ways. One is superclass constructor and another is superclass methods and variables. So super keyword na superclass constructors na call ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೂ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, ಹಾಗೆ superclass methods and variables na access ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೂ super keyword na ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. Super keyword it is used to access superclass constructors as well as superclass methods and variables, right? So here the syntax to invoke the constructors of a superclass using the super method is, so that is super of parameter 1 to n. So here in the subclass we are writing a constructor, but now we having a constructor in superclass also, but when you are doing inheritance we are not creating the objects for the superclass. So in the subclass through the subclass object we should call the superclass constructor. So that is done by super keyword. So how it works, it just like a super method. ಅಲ್ಲಿರುವಂಥ super method, super ಮುಂದ್ಗಡೆ ಓಪನಿಂಗ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಕ್ಲೋಸಿಂಗ್ ಪ್ಯಾರಂಥೆಸಿಸ್ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಮೆಥಡ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಸೂಪರ್ ವಿಲ್ ಕಾಲ್ ದ super class constructor like a super method. Okay, using super method we can call the superclass constructor. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ syntax ಏನು, super within the parenthesis we write the parameter list, that is parameter 1 to parameter n. In the above syntax, p1 that is parameter 1, parameter 2 to parameter n refer to the list of parameters that you need to pass to the constructor of the superclass. So superclass constructor ಗೆ ನಾವು ಪಾಸ್ ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯುಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಅವು, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಪ್ಯಾರಾಮೀಟರ್ಸ್ ಅವು. ಓಕೆ, ಇಫ್ ನೋ ಪ್ಯಾರಾಮೀಟರ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಪಾಸ್ಡ್ ಟು ದ ಸೂಪರ್ ಮೆಥಡ್ ಇಟ್ ಇನ್ವೋಕ್ಸ್ ದ ಡಿಫಾಲ್ಟ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಟರ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಸೂಪರ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಪ್ಯಾರಾಮೀಟರ್ಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದರೆ ದೆನ್ ಡಿಫಾಲ್ಟ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಟರ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ. If the superclass contains the overloaded constructor, you can pass parameters to the super method to invoke a particular constructor. So here overloaded constructors ittu anta helidre, so we already studied overloaded constructors. So same constructor that is same function name with different signatures is called a method overloading. Similarly, we having a number of constructors means the method name is similar, that is as a class name, because constructor is a special methods because same name as the class name, but with different argument list, that is different signatures. One is one constructor can no have arguments and another having a single argument, like that we can write number of constructors, right? In the superclass also we can write a number of constructors. If the superclass contains the overloaded constructors, ಅಲ್ಲಿ number of constructors ittu andre you can pass parameters to the super method ಇಂದ ನಾವು ಪ್ಯಾರಾಮೀಟರ್ಸ್ನ ಪಾಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಟು ಇನ್ವೋಕ್ ಎ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಟರ್. ಅಲ್ಲಿರುವಂಥ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಟರ್, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿಂಗಲ್ ಪ್ಯಾರಾಮೀಟರೈಸ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಟರ್ನ ಕಾಲ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಸೂಪರ್ ಮೆಥಡ್ಗೆ ಒಂದೇ ಪ್ಯಾರಾಮೀಟರ್ನ ಕಳಿಸ್ತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ವಿ ವಾಂಟ್ ಟು ಕಾಲ್ 3 ಪ್ಯಾರಾಮೀಟರೈಸ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಟರ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ವಿ ಶುಡ್ ಸೆಂಡ್ ದ 3 ಪ್ಯಾರಾಮೀಟರ್ಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ದ ಸೂಪರ್ ಮೆಥಡ್, ಲೈಕ್ ದಟ್. ಸೊ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಕಾಲ್ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಟರ್ ಯೂಸಿಂಗ್ ಎ super method in method. Okay, so when you use super method in the constructor of the subclass, it should be first executable statement in the constructor. So ಇಲ್ಲಿ super method ನ ನಾನು ಸಬ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ ಅಂದರೆ ಅದು ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿರಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ಈಗ so one subclass having a constructor means that constructor should having a beginning statement should be called the superclass constructor using a super method. Okay, a constructor ಒಳಗಡೆ super first statement super method ಆಗಿರಬೇಕು, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಆ constructor ಇಂದು ಟಾಸ್ಕ್ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ the syntax to access the member variables of a superclass. Superclass ಅಲ್ಲಿರುವಂಥ ಮೆಂಬರ್ ವೇರಿಯಬಲ್ಸ್ನ ಆಕ್ಸೆಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಎ ಆಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ನೇಮ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಡಾಟ್ ಆಪರೇಟರ್. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ನ ಕಾಲ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸೂಪರ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿರುವಂಥ ಕನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಟರ್ಸ್ನ ಇನ್ವೋಕ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಬ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿ ಸೂಪರ್ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಮೆಥಡ್ ಥರ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅದೇ ಸೂಪರ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿರುವಂಥ ಮೆಂಬರ್ ವೇರಿಯಬಲ್ಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ಅಲ್ಲಿರೋ ಮೆಥಡ್ಸ್ನ ಕಾಲ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಆಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ನೇಮ್ ಡಾಟ್ ಆಪರೇಟರ್ ಥರ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸಿಂಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ಆಕ್ಸೆಸಿಂಗ್ ದ ಮೆಂಬರ್ ವೇರಿಯಬಲ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಎ ಸಬ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಸೂಪರ್ ಡಾಟ್ ವೇರಿಯಬಲ್. ದ ಸಬ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಆಕ್ಸೆಸ್ ದ ಮೆಂಬರ್ ಮೆಥಡ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಎ ಸೂಪರ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಯೂಸಿಂಗ್ ಎ super keyword, that is super dot member method, that is super dot there is a sum method, there is a sum method in the super class means we can call that super dot sum inside a subclass. So this is the this is about super keyword. So next we study about this keyword. So in the next session we discuss about this keyword. So now you study about this concept what I explained, that is nesting of member methods, and example on nesting of methods, and super keyword. So again super keyword is used in inheritance chapter, but you people should know how that is super. Through super keyword we can access the super class constructor and also super class methods and variables using super keyword. So when you are accessing the super class constructor, then super keyword acts like a super method. Then when you are accessing the super class variables and methods, it acts like a object name and dot operator. That is super will act like a object name, that is super dot variable name, super dot method name. Like that we can access the super class variables and methods inside a subclass using a super keyword. Okay, these all concept you study what I discussed in this session. Next session we discuss about this keyword. This and super, both keywords are most important in Java language. Okay, thank you.